Okay, we are recording now.
Great. Welcome to today's online learning table. I'm Antonia Grimoire, and I'm delighted to be introducing the powerhouse that is Jules Brooke. As members will know, Jules is the founder of She's the Boss membership group focused on elevating successful female founders and women doing extraordinary things in business, which is all of you, of course. She also hosts a channel on YouTube called, you guessed it, She's the Boss. And if you don't know, she also hosts her podcast, She's the Boss Chats and She's the Boss Leaders, and you really must check it out. It is really entertaining. Anyone that knows Jules knows she is a superpower, and her superpower, her superpower is super connecting with women. She is also a long-term entrepreneur and a speaker, an MC, and a coach. Look at, I mean, it just goes on. Super. Jules is the founder of also Handle Your Own PR and has been teaching business owners, entrepreneurs, and experts how to get mainstream media coverage for years for free. I bet you're wondering if she ever sleeps, and I can tell you, she does not. Never. In this session, Jules is going to give you the keys to unlocking some amazing PR strategies. Welcome, Jules.
Thank you. So welcome, everyone. I'm so glad to see all these lovely, smiling, familiar faces, and I'm very, very happy to help you with your PR. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take you through a presentation I've put together, and then when we finish, and at any stage, feel free. This is very relaxed. This is a learning table. So if you want to, you can just interrupt me. Antonia, if you see anyone raise their hand while I'm busy writing, just stop me and we can talk about it there and then. And otherwise, at the end, yes, Jean.
Sorry, Gabby, could you mute yourself, because every time we've got it on speaker and you move, it pops to you instead of Jules.
Oh.
Yeah, so if somebody isn't muted, that automatically pops to that person.
That's because you've got it on.
Sorry, Jules.
No, that's all right. So you've got it on speaker view. If for the rest of us who've got it on gallery view, that won't be happening. But you might want to move it onto speaker view now because, oh, how do I pin me?
I think in your
all right, there you
at
go.
the top there.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. I'm going to get this presentation up. And I'm going to make you all a bit small and move everything out the way so I can see what the hell I'm doing. And slideshow start. Right. Well, that was too big for the screen, but anyway. Okay, girls. So today I want to talk to you about why you should be making PR part of your marketing mix. That very blurry photo is just to show that I have been on TV and that I do walk the walk. I've been teaching business owners how to do PR since 2008, and I actually taught myself how to do PR in 2001. So it's been quite a long time that I've been working on it. Now, let me see if my little buttons will move. Yes. Okay, a tiny bit about me. For those of you that know me, almost all of you look like She's the Boss members. So you would know what I do with She's the Boss. Handle Your Own PR, and on the right is the picture of me. I used to run PR accelerators, and people would come together with journalists and we would write PR stories in order to get 20 articles published in a year, which I believe is the tipping point that then if anybody Googles you, they will be flooded with articles that say, you know, this is her speaking on this is her speaking on that, here she is being interviewed on this, here she is on radio. So really, if you want to move the dial and have some real brand presence in the media and build trust very quickly, then PR is the way to go. And you want to roughly aim for, if you can, about 15 to 20 articles published. So let me tell you a little bit about how I fell into PR, because it definitely was a falling into. I had I went out on my own, having worked in the graphic design industry for 10 years, and I knew a little bit about PR, but not very much. I went to a party and I met Con the Fruiterer, aka Mark Mitchell, at the party. And because I was there with a woman who he knows very well that does PR, he thought that I was a publicist. And so he rang me about 2 weeks later and said, Jules, they're bringing out the best of Con the Fruiterer DVD, and I've told the company that you're the best person to do the PR. And I said, thank you so much, Mark. And I hung up and I went, shit, what am I going to do now? I've never done PR before. So I rang all my friends who were in PR and said, how about we split the fee and you do it and I'll front with the client? And they all said, no, sorry, too busy. And they said, give it a go. And so I did. And I realized so my career actually started in sales. And so I was okay about cold calling people. But the idea of calling journalists made me quite nervous. And it didn't need to, because what a lot of people don't realize is the journalists rely on people calling them with stories. So straight away, we were able to, I was able to get, I think I got about 6 interviews for Mark across the Bert Newton show and Alan Jones and things like that. Went out back to the DVD company and said, this is what I've got. They said, wow, you're amazing. Here's another 5 DVDs. And it's really at that moment that I started to build a PR agency and started to really understand PR and the power of it. And also how easy it is to pitch to the media, that they are actually not going to bite your head off and go, who the hell do you think you are? They kind of go, oh, yeah, tell me more about the story that you've got. So my next question to all of you is, what is PR? How would any of you describe PR? Hang on, I'm going to get you all back so that I can see you for a minute to see, does somebody want to nominate what they think PR is, or what their definition of PR might be? Gabby, tell me what you think it is.
It's public relations, and
Yes.
it's very important marketing tool. It's not just selling a product or service. We need to be visible, and using this, it could be a company, it could be someone that help us to be more visible in the marketplace, and they have the special tools to do the homework.
Okay, that's interesting. That is very interesting. You're very true. That is what is a PR agency. Does anybody know what the agency does? What do we do to get you that awareness? What am I going to be talking about today? I can only see 6 of you, so anybody else got their hand up? Otherwise, I know this is a bit of a facetious question. You probably all know the answer.
I will answer. I'll give it a shot.
Okay, Antonia, go for it.
I originally thought you'd sign up with a PR agency and they'd sort out your message and go and pitch you to all these different agency channels, magazines, do all the hard yards for you, and you just basically turn up,
right,
and speak or get interviewed or write articles. I even thought they'd do articles.
Well, you're quite right. So a PR agency, and depending on how much you pay them, but if you pay them $7 or $8 grand a month, absolutely will do all of that for you. In fact, they may even do it for $5 grand a month. But what I'm going to talk about today is not only why you should be using PR, but why I think you should be doing it yourselves. Because there is a benefit that comes from getting to know journalists directly, because they get to know you, what it is that you talk about, and they will repeatedly come back to you. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Just quickly before I go, Lisa, did you have anything else that you wanted to add to that? What's your definition of PR?
I think getting PR is actually getting media platforms and media personnel talking about your product and service. So it's an objective point of view, not you selling what you're doing. They're talking about you.
Yeah, very nice. So it's that third-party endorsement that we all want for our business, which is works like word of mouth, and someone else is telling people how great you are. You're not telling everyone yourself. All right, now I'm just going to put you back so I can't see you all again for a minute. That is absolutely right. So this is a really, really good example, I think, of how PR works. So, oh God, this stupid bar that appears on everything. So in marketing, you're basically going out to say to people, I'm a great lover. Listen to me. I'm a great lover. I know what I'm talking about. Advertising only works if you repeat yourself a number of times. So I love it that the guy's going, I'm a great lover, I'm a great lover, I'm a great lover. If I say it enough times, will you understand and will you remember? Then you get into PR, and PR is when somebody else is saying, and it's normally the editor or the journalist saying, trust me, he's a great lover, you can trust me. You know me, you know that I wouldn't send you wrong. So if I tell you this person is great, they're great. And then branding is the other one. And it's kind of the way that it's been described in this is that, is that it is telling you, hang on, I don't know what I did then. Damn. Hang on, let me go right back. And the branding one is the woman saying, I understand you're a great lover because I can see that in your branding and in everything that you're doing. But PR is the most effective, I believe, because it builds trust very quickly because somebody else is telling people how great you are. So firstly, because we're all women, I just wanted to touch on the fact of why it is important to make yourself visible. And Gabby, you definitely touched on this before, but almost 40% of business owners are women. Women over 50, which is most of us, feature in less than 4% of media globally. And you couple that with the fact that young girls say they can't see role models for themselves in business, and you take the focus off yourself and you think about those young women who need someone to look at, and the fact that we need to see a damn sight more older and more mature women in the media. And that's another great incentive as to why you should make yourself more visible. So let's talk about why you would use PR. Basically, as I said, it's much more effective than advertising. In advertising, you basically have to blow your own trumpet and go, look at me, hang on a minute, look at me. I'm great, I'm fantastic, I know what I'm doing. Whereas in PR, somebody else is doing that for you. So it's really effective. And a great example of that, just to give you an idea, is if you think about reading a weekend newspaper and it says, you know, I don't know, that there's a great app is the one I always fall back on, because the Good Weekend always used to have the app of the week, and I always went in to have a look at it. I have a jeweler friend who makes all my jewelry that I did some PR for. We got an article into the Age Christmas gift guide, and they got all the details wrong. I can't tell you. They got the name of the artist wrong. They put my name. They put the website was incorrect. And I rang her and I said, oh my God, I am so sorry. And she said, you know what, Jules? I've had 35 orders so far, because when it's PR, people will go and hunt you down. They'll find the name and they'll go and hunt you down. The other thing, of course, is that PR is free, so it makes your budget go much, much further. It builds trust straight away because people are able to understand your reputation, your company's record, all of those things, because they can look you up once they know you exist. And the beautiful thing about PR is that Google loves it, because Google is looking for backlinks to your website from websites that it ranks really highly. And it ranks websites really highly on the amount of traffic and the amount of content and how fast it changes. So when you think about it, media outlets, particularly digital media outlets where they're changing the articles and the news every half hour or so, it's wonderful, wonderful SEO for you. And I've done a little bit more about it here, because the other thing about good SEO is it lasts forever. And often you will find that the backlinks will last much longer than the actual article itself. So the fact that Google has clocked that you are connected, that the Age has mentioned your website in an article, or that, you know, the Fin Review, or that you've been mentioned on radio, absolutely will put you up higher in the rankings, which is so important. And this is what happens. This is just one of our clients that sent me a little diagram about what they had done. But there's your normal traffic kind of wandering along, and then you get something in the media, and I've seen this gazillions of times, and you get a massive spike. So we'll send a whole lot of people to your website for a day or two, and then it goes back down, which is one of the reasons that I encourage people to try and get regular coverage. And that doesn't mean automatically that you get a regular gig, you know, that someone in the media says, great, can you come on every week? Although that would be ideal. But it's just that you've got a media release going out at least once a month to start to build that traction, to give you those spikes that hopefully will get higher and higher as people get to know about you. And of course, the other great thing about PR is that it supports all your other marketing efforts. So your social media is on steroids once you have an article or something that's been in the media that you can share. Your SEO, I've talked about, it goes up. You can share it on your own website, and we've all seen websites that where the person looks very credible because it'll say, as seen in Forbes, as seen in the Fin Review, whatever it is that they've been seen in. You can put it in a newsletter and share it with your community. There are just so many ways that you can make PR last much longer than just the initial article. And of course, if you've got a bricks and mortar store, you can frame it and stick it up on your wall, which is always great to have in your waiting room. Oh, and now the thing doesn't want to. There we go. So now I thought I would talk to you about the impact of PR and just tell you a couple of stories. The first one, and if I'm sorry if I'm boring anyone if they've seen this one before, but this is such a good story. And so the guy's name is Roger O'Toole. He is a physiotherapist that specializes in migraines, and he started the Melbourne Headache Centre. And he came to me and he said, Jules, I haven't got the budget for advertising and I really need to let people know I'm here. Can we try some PR? So he and I wrote an article. The article was pretty much a case study of this woman who's smiling at the camera in a very awkward way. And he's got this new technique called the, I'm going to say it wrong now. But anyway, he has a technique where he can manipulate people's necks. And he had about a 95% success rate at getting rid of migraines. So we wrote this media release about this woman who had been having migraines every week for all of her life until she saw him. It was now 3 years later, and I think she'd only had 1 or 2 migraines since then. And she agreed, because you always need to get your case study person to agree. And there is nothing stronger than telling someone else's story of how your service has benefited them. So we wrote the article and we sent it off to the Sydney Morning, not to the Sydney Morning Herald, to the Herald Sun. And they said, we love it. We're going to put it in next Tuesday. Now, when newspapers I can't speak properly. When you get featured in a newspaper, a daily newspaper, those newspapers come out at 2 o'clock in the morning. They get distributed to all the radio stations and the milk bars and all the rest of it. At the radio stations and the TV stations, they go through them with a fine-tooth comb to find the articles that they think are really going to be interesting. And then their researchers will go out and try and find the people behind the articles. And this is what happened with Roger. So the first one to contact him was 3AW. They rang him. Well, they didn't actually. They texted him because it was, they have a show that starts at 6 in the morning. So his phone went off at 6 in the morning or 5:30 saying, hi, I'm a producer from 3AW. I would love to interview you about your new technique. And he thought that it was his mates taking the mickey, so he didn't answer. So I think they took 3 times before he finally answered. And he rang me at about 8 o'clock that morning going, I'm still shaking. It was so exciting. I got called, I answered, I went on, I did a 5-minute talk about what it is that I do, and they loved it. And it was just amazing, Jules. And we thought that might be the end of it because you never know with PR. But what actually happened was that every single one of the evening news contacted him. Channel 10, Channel 7, Channel 9, ABC and SBS did, but he didn't have time to fit them in, God love him, because he hadn't actually blocked out any time that day he didn't realize it was going to go off like this, and neither did I. That evening, after the end of the news, he started getting a hit on his website every minute for the next 3 hours. In fact, his web guy rang him and said, I think you've been hacked, because very rarely do you get that kind of traffic without somebody hacking you. And what happened after that was that the Channel 9, he became known as the headache guy for Channel 9. And he actually has been on so many times since. They get him on all the time to talk about headaches. And I had to contact him recently because my son now gets migraines. And I said to him, Roger, you probably don't remember me. I think it was about 10 years ago I did this with him. And he said, I will never forget you. That was just the most amazing thing. And he said, you won't believe it, but a current affair had me on just last week. So 10 years later, he is still the headache guy as far as the media is concerned. And that is one of the big benefits of doing the PR yourself. If he had done it through an agency, they would go back to the agency and say, do you have that Roger guy or anyone else that could talk about headaches to us? But because they knew him, they went back to him. Now, this next one is Laura Picardi, and Laura is a stress management coach for women. She is amazing. And she said to me that because there are so many coaches out there, she said, people just don't know who's good and who's not good. So I want to do PR so that I can get cut through and people really understand and trust me. So she managed to get articles in everywhere, you know, from the Women's Agenda. She was in the Sydney Morning Herald. She was in Touch Rugby. And then she only did a 3-month campaign. She did our online PR boot camp. And at the end of it, she managed to get herself on the Today Show. The results that she got were absolutely phenomenal. She got something like 40% more conversion on her website for new business. She got 16 new business inquiries, which is a lot for her because she normally only works with 2 or 3 people at a time. One of the most exciting things, and that's what happens with PR, and you couldn't predict it, was that somebody at Coles Myer had seen it, contacted her and asked her if she would do workshops for everyone throughout the organization. So there are so many benefits that can come out of PR that you wouldn't expect and that you can't predict. It's just one of those amazing things. So it's totally worth doing for the opportunities that can come out of it. Now, the next person you should all know, and I just put this in because I just thought most of you would know Phoebe Blamey. Phoebe has been a member of She's the Boss for a long time. 2 years ago, I taught her how to do PR, and she has literally been published in the Fin Review. I think she said conservatively about 15 times in the last 2 years. And that is because, again, she went to the journalist. The journalist at the Fin Review loved her and loved the way she wrote and loved the topic she was talking about. And so every time he was looking for someone to comment on anything around mortgages, personal finance, switching home loans, any of that, they keep coming back to her. She's also written a book, so she managed to get some book reviews, and she's also managed to get on all sorts of other smaller magazines and big ones like the Australian and Koshi's Business Builders. So again, I normally work with people for 2 to 3 months at the most, and then you don't need me. You know what you're doing. You will probably have some relationships by then, and you go off into the big bad wide world and get stacks and stacks of publicity. So I think it's fair to say it works. And I can't even tell, I think I've got 89 video testimonials on my YouTube channel for Handle Your Own PR if you want any more verification. So what I thought we would do now is I'm going to bust a couple of myths that I think are out there around PR, things where people have got the wrong end of the stick, or more likely that publicists are protecting their patch and kind of, I don't want to say lying, but maybe exaggerating the situation. So let's go through these 3, and then I'm going to take you through how to actually do your own PR. So myth number 1, and I hear this all the time, and if any of you have gone to smaller media outlets like magazines, industry newsletters, maybe some online media, you will have heard this, where they'll go, if you buy an ad, we'll give you a story. Well, that's really the advertising guys trying it on, because obviously if you do an ad, they'll give you a story, but you don't have to do an ad, because there is a code of ethics that journalists sign up to at the very beginning of their career. And it clearly says that there can be no commercial or personal influence on editorial content. And what that means is that they can't, if they're a good journalist, make you buy an ad in order to get a story up. The two are completely different. And I worked in newspapers for many years, and your advertising department is normally on another floor or at the other end of the building to the editorial department. So I would encourage you to bypass the advertising person, who no doubt will come after you to see if you'll take an ad. And what I normally suggest that you say to them is, thanks very much for the offer, but I actually don't have the budget at the moment. So I think this story is actually really useful for your audience. And if you publish it and I get a really good response, then as soon as I have a budget, I will be straight back to advertise with you. So dangle the carrot, but kind of get rid of them and remind them that this is a story and that they're a media outlet. The next one, so I'm just going to have to drink some water. And this is one that I think journalists, I think PRs love to push out there. And when I launched Handle Your Own PR, I got stacks of this from the PR industry, where they say, oh, journalists are super busy. They don't want to be bombarded with pictures all day. And that, I'm afraid, to use the technical term, is absolute bullshit. The reason why is that journalists rely on people sending them stories in order to be able to fill the voracious appetite of everybody for news and for things to read. And here are a couple of industry leaders that I know quite well that I managed to discuss this topic with them. Emma Vidgen was the editor of, oh my God, one of those home magazines, and I can't think what it is. Life in Style, not Life in Style. Anyway, big homewares magazine. Before that, she was the lifestyle editor for Women's Day. And she's worked in the women's magazine space for years and years and years. And she used to be one of the journalists I brought along to my Sydney events. And I remember saying to her, you know, there's a lot of imposter syndrome with people pitching stories to journalists. And she said, what people don't realize, she said, at Women's Day, and this was 10 years ago, so it'd be much worse now. At Women's Day, we were told to write 7 articles a day. Now, hardly anyone can get through 7 articles in one day. So what that actually means is that they're going to write probably 3 articles, and they're going to look for 4 articles that have been sent to them, or close to an article that's been written to them, so that they would be able to get to their quota of 7. And there is a ranking each year of the most prolific journalists. And 2 years ago, I caught it. Sorry, I've just got this frog in my throat. 2 years ago, I caught it, and the most prolific journalist was a guy at the Daily Mail, which doesn't surprise me, and he was writing 100 articles a week. So that will give you an idea of how much demand there is for articles and how much they love it if you can send them an article with an image already that they can just cut and paste and put into their magazine, especially if it's been written in the third person, which is Emma Vidgen is a journalist, blah, 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 or Jules Brooke, founder of Handle Your Own PR, believes in blah, blah, blah. So it's not writing, I think, it's writing as if somebody is writing about you. Now, the other guy you probably know from, he's very short, by the way. I don't know whether anyone realizes how short he is, but he is, you know him from The Project, but he also hosted a show on Tuesdays at Macquarie Network, which is the 3AW, 6PR, 4BC, 2GB and 2UE, and all the other kind of talk radio networks, 5AAA, I think it is. The talk radio stations across Australia and a whole lot of the rural ones. So his show was syndicated to 57 different radio stations all at the same time. He would do this 1 hour show, I think it was 1 or an hour and a half, on business. And I got to go on to talk about Handle Your Own PR. And on it, I said to him, you know, Steve, a lot of business owners feel really nervous about contacting people like you because they're worried that you're going to turn around and go, who the hell do you think you are? And that they actually haven't got anything to add. And he said something that was really profound that I love to share. He said, I work in radio, Jules, and radio is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, if you think about it, most radio interviews last between 5 and 10 minutes. That gives you an idea of how many people we need to interview per day, never mind per week, and how much content we need. We couldn't do it if people weren't contacting us and giving us stories. So please, if there is anything that you walk away with today, just understand that the media needs people to give them stories. What they probably don't need, and I will touch on this a little bit later, is you asking them to write a story about yourself, because they have limited resources and limited number of journalists these days, particularly in the smaller media outlets. So if you can give them a written article with a photo, they are much more likely to be able to take it and publish it fast. That is not quite right when it comes to newspapers. They will write their own stories, but they still love it if you've written the article for them and they can just tweak it. Myth number 3, to be a media expert, you need a degree or a qualification. And that is absolutely talking to all of your imposter syndromes, if there's such a thing. And I think this next image should give you a laugh and make you realize anyone can be an expert. Check out this guy. On the BBC, he's an emoji translator. Now, I absolutely honestly also seen a TV show where it was set in America. It was one of those hot dog, you know, those things about food festivals in the southern states of America. It was some documentary. And I swear there was a guy being interviewed, and across the bottom it said cheese grater expert. You are all experts. You need to know that you know your stuff, you know what you're talking about, and that you are all experts, and therefore all of you can go and talk about things in the media and feel very confident that you know your stuff, you know what you can talk about. Okay, so now have we got any questions out of that? Or Antonia, let me know if there are any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going. I know I will.
Oh, I'm writing it down. Don't worry, we'll circle back.
Okay, cool. All right, let's talk about getting started with your PR. The first thing that I want you to think about is repurposing your content. And it doesn't have to be written content. If you've got podcasts, and I keep saying this to myself and I've got to do it, you could get your podcast, put it through Otter or one of those things that will turn voice to text, and you could just tweak it slightly and send that out as a media release. But definitely, if you're writing for your own newsletter, for your own blog, or for LinkedIn, I would encourage you to send that article to the media first to see whether they'll print it. If they won't, then you're no worse off and you can put it on as a LinkedIn or on your blog. If they do, then you're going to really have a story to share. You'll be able to still put it on LinkedIn, but it'll be endorsed by somebody else, which makes it that little bit more powerful. So let's talk about a media release versus an article. So a media release is the old way we would do it. That would be, let me tell you a little bit about this. So we'd write an article or a media release and we'd say, let me tell you a little bit about this person. Let me tell you about some angles that we think might work. And here are their contact details if you would like to do a story on them. Now, that way still works, as I said, in newspapers, but it makes it much harder for a journalist because they've actually got to find the time to interview you, do a bit of research, do the writing, etc., etc. So if you make it really easy for them and you give them a pre-written article, you'll find that they are much, much more likely to just pop it in. And when I used to run my PR accelerators, I would encourage people to do that. And we would nearly always send out the articles on the second afternoon to the media. And I think we had almost 100% hit rate that someone would be published within 10 minutes of sending it out. And some media outlet would say to them, hi, great article, thanks so much. We put it up on our website, here's a link. Or we put it up in our media outlets. So try and make it as easy as possible for the journalists and you're more likely to be published. Now these are my favorite ways to come up with angles. Obviously in an hour, I can't come up with everything and there is stacks more I can share with you. But this is the one that I always go back to. And they are the types of articles that I would encourage you to write. So, and I'm just going to rattle off a whole lot of ideas and you can think, and you can ask me questions afterwards or during. But basically it might be 10 things you should do before you do your own PR. It might be 5 things you mustn't do if you want 5 things that you shouldn't do if you want to, I'm thinking Susan Jarvis now, if you want to get in touch with your own sexuality. What you shouldn't do if you want your bed to last for ages or you want your garlic to last for ages. So it's do's and don'ts. It's things that you know about. And it's probably, if you were to think about it, the kinds of questions people ask you if you go out socially and people say, you know, and you say what you do, what are the things people always ask you? And that way, if you think about it, those are the topics that people want to know about. So for instance, with me, they often say, you know, when I put on my PR hat, they'll say, well, what is PR? Or why would anyone use it? Or do you have to pay the journalist? Or they might say, how would you get the media contacts? Those are therefore the article topics that I would write about. Another thing is things that you didn't know. You might say, 10 things you don't know about the accounting industry, or it might be things you don't know about garlic, or things you didn't know about PR, or things you don't know about kinesiology. It doesn't matter. It's whatever your topic is. To give them things that you know that most people outside of the industry don't know. And when I've written facts and figures, if you can find some research or some stats around it, that makes it even more powerful. And to be honest, newspapers love research and stats. So that's something to consider. How to choose a good accountant, how to choose a great masseur, how to choose the best real estate agent, how to find the best dentist in your area, whatever it might be. You can write those articles and you can twist them a little bit so that you are definitely on that list of where they're going to find you. So for me, it might be how to choose the best way to do PR. Are you better off to get somebody else to do it or do it yourself? And then I do an article that would be very open and say, you know, if you've got the budget, getting someone else to do it is amazing. You get experts, they know what they're doing, but not all of us have the money, and PR is still really valuable. So if not, here are the top 3 companies that I would recommend for handling your own PR, and I'd put handle your own PR at the top of the list. Then I might do hack your own PR, and then I might do something like MediaNet, which hack your own PR I know doesn't have the media contacts, and MediaNet I know is really expensive and you don't get to see the journalist names. So, you know, you can kind of skew it to send people to make yourself seem like the best option for people. And then the last one that I absolutely love is helping people avoid making a mistake. And to do that, you are obviously seen as somebody who knows what they're talking about and an expert. But what you're thinking about with that might be 10 things to watch out for before you engage a tennis coach. 3 questions you should ask an accountant before you engage them. 5 of the biggest mistakes I see people making in PR or in advertising or in whatever it is that you do in your business. So we can talk about these afterwards, and you're very welcome to start making notes now about ideas that you might have for your own business, and we can talk about what would be, you know, what really would work for you. Okay, so the other thing that you need to think about is, look at God, there's nothing worse when you see yourself so big. Sorry about that. Looks fine when it's on a little slide. Anyway, what do you want to be known for? You need to think about that before you start your PR, because you want to be consistent in your messaging in terms of what it is that you are talking about. And to just go back to that point, Jean sent me a message earlier to say, how do you change direction and let people know you've changed direction? So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But you really do want to kind of pick your lane and then go hard on, this is what I want to be known for. So if I want to, I've spent 10 years telling everyone about how to do PR. Now I've spent the last 3 years talking about supporting women. But you need to be fairly consistent about it. Now, another way that you can get media articles up is to do case studies, like I told you that Roger did with the headache clinic. And this is one that we did back in 2010 when we just launched Handle Your Own PR. And we took one of our customers, who was this woman. Look how cool she is. She runs a business called Galmatic. And Eleni used Handle Your Own PR, and we said to her, is there any chance we could send the media a little case study about what you've done? And she was thrilled. Most people are thrilled. Some people won't be, but you must ask their opinion first, because the media is probably going to want to talk to them if they pick up the story. But anyway, we talked about this. She really talked about setting up her business, how she didn't have much money left. She needed to market it. She looked around at options and she found this website called Handle Your Own PR. And she tried doing her own PR, and what a huge difference it made. So I think we interviewed her and then we just wrote the story for her. But the newspaper went to take the photo for her, of her at her place. And I've definitely worked with people who have not told their case study people that they're using them as a PR case study. One that comes to mind is a woman who did my PR accelerator. 9 Honey picked it up. They loved it. They said, we want to talk to the woman. She went back to the woman and said, I used you for a PR case study. I hope you don't mind. And now Nine Honey would like to talk to you. And the woman who was in the article said, no way, I don't want my name in the media. I don't want my face up there. And the whole story fell over, which just means it didn't get published. So you've got to be very careful. Now, I've also alluded a little bit to the importance of photography. I do talk about it all the time until I'm blue in the face. And that is because two things. One is a good original photo. And this is me talking about really getting your own photos done and not using stock photography if you can. One of the things that journalists will often say is that the worst part of their job is going to try and find the image to go with the article. So if you can give them one and it's a good quality one, they are far more likely to put your story in. In fact, I often say to people that if a journalist had two articles written, both really good, and one had a photo, there is no question at all that the one with the photo would get up because it's just less work for them. So think about that, and I'm going to give you some examples. This is a woman called Rhiannon. She has a business called Finance for Women. And she said to me, well, what kind of images can I do? And I just said, please don't use stock photography. Your business is about money. So why don't you get some big dollar signs made up and have a bit of fun with them? Now, aren't these photos brilliant? I just think they're so good. I keep having to share them. And you can imagine that a magazine would get an article about finance and then one of these images, and it's an absolute no-brainer for them that they're going to use it, because the images are so strong and they're so different. And I mean, we've got a guy called Adam, and I can't think of Adam's surname at the moment. God, my mind's going blank today. But anyway, Adam writes a lot he's been spending about the last 20 years writing for The Age in Melbourne. And he said, you will always go past and they're looking at those photos. If you know the ones where they're putting the molten gold bullion into the mold, or that there are like 6 kind of style of images that they use across all the business media, and it's all the same stuff. So anyway, these kind of photos can be really, really good. The other way, if you haven't got a big budget, that I love, is to do these kind of silly face ones. Now, to do that, you just need to think, what sort of articles are you going to write and what sort of images are you going to need? So I'm just very quickly going to go through this with you so that you can see where my head was at and why I do these kind of shots. So on the left, I might say something like, does doing your own marketing make you want to pull out your hair? At the bottom, the bottom on the left, I might go, are you shocked at the price of paying for an agency? Why not try doing it yourself? For the middle one at the top, where I look really professional, it might be, get a professional to do your PR and it'll make all the difference in the world. For the one on the right, it might be top right, it might be something like, do you really hate having to deal with your agency? The one with me cheering might be, I might do a headline of something like, why it always feels great when you do your own marketing and you have success. I don't know, and then obviously the one on the right is something about you. Do you do whatever? But if you haven't got a big budget, you can always put on a nice suit, stand in front of a white wall or a neutral background and make a whole lot of faces and get people to take photos of you. It's just a really good backup. It builds your profile in the media without you having to talk about yourself all the time. And it gives the journalists an obviously original image that they can use that's really different and a bit of fun. So that is a fallback option for those of you, if you don't want to do big shoots on location, doing something like that with you can even do it in portrait mode on your iPhone. When I say portrait mode, I don't mean making it upright. I mean, there is a portrait mode button you can press inside the camera where it blurs the background and pushes you into the foreground, and they look super professional. So you could do something like that as well. Just make sure the lighting is really good and that it doesn't look like it's been home done. Okay, so let's talk about writing your media article. And this is a gorgeous couple I taught. And they were so diligent. I love this shot of them working really hard on their media releases. So I'm just going to rattle off a whole lot of bits and pieces for you here. The first one is the importance of format. Now, a lot of people are tempted to glamorize their media release. So they might put it into Canva, make it all look very gorgeous. But what I want you to realize is that if you do that, the journalist will think a couple of things. One is, if they've designed it like this, then they're probably sending it out to a whole lot of media outlets. And you really want the journalist to think that they're the only one who's getting it, even if they're not. The second thing that they might do is, wow, this looks like a newsletter. I'm not going to bother opening it. So I would encourage you to do a very simple format, something that they can cut and paste very easily with your image at the top. This is actually a media release that the Handle Your Own PR engine will format for you. And so this is how they should look. But I just wanted to show you that it's basically a glorified Word document or Google Doc. And that you don't need to go very glamorous. And the other thing, just while I'm here, is make sure none of your photography has ever got logos on it. You can't put logos or words or send them ads or anything like that, because they just literally will not use it. It needs to be just a clean photo. Well, I'm just rattling through these points. Next one you need to know is that you need to keep your media release message very simple. Now, Antonia is the queen of messaging, so you can always go and talk to her. But your media releases need to cover one topic at a time. You don't want to cram 5 in there, because you could turn that into 5 media releases. So really, just keep it very simple, one message per media release. And the simpler it is, the more you can go into a bit of detail about it. But you're only writing 500, 600 words. It's not very long. So keep it very simple and to the point. The other thing you need to know is that you can tailor your articles. So what I would do is I would write my article as a general kind of article for everyone. And then I'll give you an example of a woman, Stella Gianotto, that I worked with, because she's really mastered this. She has a branding agency. So she's always talking about branding and the importance of branding. She writes articles all the time, but she wrote an article about, I think I helped her with the headline, which was, off the top of my head, something like why getting a cheap logo might be the most expensive mistake you can ever make. And it was all about not using Fiverr and Upwork to do your logos, to go to a proper agency. Now, she had identified that there were a few different markets that she wanted to get into. So she wanted to get into the hospitality industry for hotels. So she wrote the article around hotels and the fact that hotels need to do their branding, and that if you really want to be seen as a high-end luxury destination, then you can't go ahead and get a cheap logo. But she also knew that she needed to get to personal trainers. So she sent another one to Oxygen magazine, and it was all about how personal trainers need to do more branding, and that they need to get their brand right, and how branding should work inside a media outlet. She also loves working with retailers. So she took the same article and tweaked it slightly and made it about how, if you're going to do a retail brand, you need a professional who can really think through all the different ways, such as the label on the back of your clothing and your shopping bags and your signage, that you're going to need your logo to work. So what she's done is taken the same article and tailored it to different audiences. Now, that is a very effective way to get more and more coverage into multiple outlets. And in fact, I have to say that Stella wins the prize for getting an article into the most outlets. She wrote one about the future of retail at the beginning of the lockdown, and it's been published 19 times by different media outlets. But what she does when she goes to them is she goes, here's my article, and if you'd like me to rewrite it slightly and tailor it for your audience, I'm very happy to. And she said 9 times out of 10, they come back and say, yes, that would be great if you wouldn't mind. Your headline needs to be very short and sweet. You don't need to do whole sentences. You really want your headline to be 6 to 8 words. So short and sweet, get to the point. You can always explain it in your first headline, in your first paragraph underneath, if you need more, if you need to explain it a little bit more. But your headline should be short and snappy. Ideally, you know, what works really, really well, and I'm terrible at them, but if you're good at puns, and you think about the sorts of headlines that you get in, say, the Herald Sun or the Daily Telegraph and some of those tabloid newspapers, that would be brilliant. One of the best articles that we ever got up was for a picture framer, and who was my business partner's brother-in-law. And the headline, we got him to write a whole lot of tips about how to hang your paintings on the wall. And the headline was, "Are you well hung?" And we sent it out to all these journalists and they all opened it. And I always laugh and say, well, the guys would have been opening it for completely different reasons to the women. But "Are you well hung?" I think he got about 30 articles up, which isn't bad for a picture framer. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the structure of your media releases. And I guess the most important part of your media release is really the first sentence, followed very quickly by the first paragraph. Because, like all of us, if you're now looking at a media outlet or a magazine, you really skim the headline and the first sentence. That's it. And you go, am I going to keep reading or not? And to be honest, that's what the journalist is going to do when you send it to them. So you want a snappy headline that'll make them open the email, and then you want to get straight to the point straight away. So I would say, hi, if it was me in mine, I might do, "Handle Your Own PR provides DIY PR services for small business owners," because we know that they are often strapped for cash, and it is the best way for people to build trust fast. Now, that has got me to the point of what my article is going to be about. Then if the journalist likes that, they'll read another couple of sentences. So then I might say something like, not every business owner thinks that PR suits them. However, PR is right for every single business out there. Let me give you some examples, and I might go into it that way. But your first paragraph, it will literally make or break whether a journalist is going to even see your article, because you've got to make it catchy enough that they're going to keep reading. And then the same thing, like if you're writing the article for them to cut and paste, they need to know that their audience is going to love it and is going to read more than the first sentence as well. The middle of your media release is kind of where you expand on the points that you've made in your headline. It's roughly 600, 800 words would be the absolute max. 500 words is probably the absolute lowest amount. But if you think about it these days, people don't have a big attention span, and articles tend not to be really long. In fact, I am addicted to Vanity Fair magazine, and it's one of the only ones I know that would still do 5,000 words for an article. Most articles are tiny. They know people have a short attention span. If you want to know more information, you can always, they'll put a way for you to find out more information at the bottom of the media release, but they're very short and snappy. And then the end is very important as well. And there's a bit that a lot of people forget to do. So you'll finish your article and you'll forget to say, for more information, go to www. whatever your website is. Now, the journalist is never going to prompt you to do that, but if it's there and it's in the last paragraph, then they will include it. And what you want is those backlinks. So absolutely, and you want people to be able to find you easily. The other way that I sometimes do it, if it's a newspaper and I think that they won't, is that I will often, and I have worked with Susie O'Brien from the Herald Sun for a while, and I always say, instead of writing "Handle Your Own PR," could you put handleyourownpr.com.au as the business name? And she'll say yes. And that means that I get my web address into that article for Google to search it and see that I'm getting that backlink. But it's really important that you don't forget to tell people how to find you, and if it's a product, how much it costs and where they can buy it. Now, sorry, I don't know why I've been talking all day and suddenly I've got a bit of a cough. Anyway, there are two terrific ways that if you're not great at writing, you can still do your own PR. And the first one is the latest gift and gizmo, ChatGPT. Now you can put into ChatGPT, say, Gabby, you were writing about you and you do styling for women. Write me an article of 800 words around women's business styling and why the color yellow is really powerful. For instance, I mean, it doesn't matter, whatever your topic is, ChatGPT will write it, and then you could edit it from there and make it a bit more personal. But they could take a lot of the grunt work out of it for you. So ChatGPT, fabulous. That is if you want to find it, you can just go and Google ChatGPT and it'll come up. But it just has a little message where you put in what it is that you want ChatGPT. You could say, write in the style of, the funniest one I've seen so far was somebody said, write about International Women's Day in the style of Donald Trump. And oh my God, it was so like Donald Trump. It was really, really hard to read. Anyway, another one that I used to use all the time before ChatGPT came along is Otter. Now, Otter is a free app and you get 10 hours a month free of converting audio into words. So, and I believe Google now does it as well. But anyway, Otter is a great app. It will actually differentiate and go speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 1, speaker 2. I know a lot of people that use them for their meetings because it's a good way of taking minutes. But you could also talk, you can talk into Otter and Otter will then turn it into text. So it could be a really powerful way for you to get your voice out there if you're not great at writing, and at least get the bare bones down, and then you can edit it from there. The only thing I would say is I will never forget doing a 20-minute interview with someone on Otter, and know that 20 minutes of speaking is 12,000 words. I nearly died. So if you want to do 500 words, I would say it's about a minute of speaking, but you can play around with it. It's free in the App Store. You can upgrade it, but basically you get 10 hours for free every month. Okay, so let's say that you now know what you're going to write about. You have got a media release written that you're pretty happy with. What is the pitching process? So this is how it works. The first thing you need to do is work out what media outlet you want to send it to. Now I'm going to take a step back because I probably should have done another slide that says to work out what media outlet you want to go to, you need to think, where do my customers come from? Who are they? And what sort of media would they be consuming? So for instance, if you wanted to get to stay-at-home mums, you would probably do morning television. You might do women's magazines and parenting magazines. And you might do websites like Mamma Mia or KidSpot or those kind of ones. If you wanted to get to tradies, you might go to, there are tradie magazines out there. You might do daytime radio because you know that they nearly always have the radio on at the building site. And you might also go to some industry magazines or newspapers. So the first thing you need to do is kind of work out, who do I want to go to? What you don't want to do is get in your industry media outlet. Well, no, that's not true. Of course you want to as well, but that is not going to get you new customers. That is just going to build your profile in your industry and in your network of people so that they know what it is that you're doing. The greatest example I have of that is I did a talk for the Independent Beer Association conference, not a conference, what's the word for it? Anyway, they do this 3-day event. And I went along to talk about PR, and I had a whole lot of people from various different artisan beer brands that came in. And it was all guys. It was really interesting. And I said, okay, who wants to know what PR is? And half of them put up their hand and said, we know PR, we do it anyway. And I said, okay, well, where are you getting published? And they said, we get something every single time in Brewers Monthly or whatever their industry media outlet was. And I said, that's great, but what else? Because your customers are not going to come from there. All you're doing is letting your competitors know what you're up to. And I had suggested to them that they did an article for Marie Claire around different beers and how to buy beer for your boyfriend or something. Anyway, just think outside the square. The next thing you need to do is identify what journalist you want to go to. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do that. One is that you can ring the media outlet and say, this is my story about PR. I'm wondering if you've got somebody who talks about marketing in your magazine, and if so, what would be the journalist details? You could say, could I talk to the lifestyle producer? Could I talk to the money producer, the sport producer, the sports editor? You just got to think about who do you want to get to. Another way to do it, of course, is that Handle Your Own PR has got a database of well over 1,000 journalists that you can go in and find the journalists that are in the industry that you're in. And another way you can do it is Google articles around the topic you're talking about and go and see what journalists are writing those articles and how you would be able to contact the journalist and go, hi, I saw that you did an article about DIY PR or about, maybe it would be about marketing on a shoestring budget. Wondered if you'd be interested in my article about how to do PR. So, that just to give you an example. Then you need to contact them. So once you've worked out who they are, then you need to contact them. I always say that if it's fast moving media, and by that I mean TV, radio, and probably TV and radio would be the main ones, and newspapers, where I would pick up the phone and call them first, because they move very fast, they don't have a lot of time, and I would much rather ring and very, very quickly, you probably get less than 2 minutes, tell them what it is that I want, that I've got a great story idea, and this is what it is, and if they like the idea, I can send them some more information about it. If it is more of a digital media outlet, it might be a blog, it might be a podcast, it might be a magazine that has a bit more time, I would email them and say, hi, basically from the PR engine, hi, sending you this article, thought it might be great for your readers. Please let me know if you'd like me to tailor it anymore. And then I'd send it off. And then if they come back to you and say, could I get a high res image? Which is, so normally if you're sending out a media release, you're sending very low res images. And I mean, ideally under 1 megabyte, because you don't want to clog up their inbox. But if they want to print it, they're going to need a higher resolution image. So whatever I send them that is a few kilobytes, I also have a version that's 2 or 3 megabytes. If they come back to you and say, can I get a sample? Can I have a little play on your website? Can you send some more information, or could we do an interview? You know they're going to do a story. And that's when you can offer them more information and also ask them when they think it's going to appear. If you don't hear from a journalist, then I encourage all of you to do the follow-up. And follow-up is normally started a couple of days after you've sent the media release out. You give them a couple of days to answer. And if they don't, then I don't want you to assume it means they're not interested. I want you to assume it means that they haven't seen it. And I know when I look at my inbox, which coincidentally has something like 39,000 unread emails, that it is very easy to get lost these days in the emails. So what I do is I follow up to any, and all of you should follow up to any journalist that hasn't responded. Very gently, I normally resend them the email saying, just bumping this to the top of your inbox in case you missed it. I might, and the PR engine, our PR engine actually has a follow-up stage where once you've sent a media release out, you can go to the next level on it and click all the boxes for anyone who hasn't responded and send it out again. And this is just me on my Tinker TV show reminding all of you not to forget radio and TV. It is incredibly powerful, and it's just as easy / hard to get into as a magazine or a newspaper. So don't forget it, and think big when it comes to media. And then we're almost at the end. What I wanted to talk to you about is the wonders of PR and how you are able to milk it. Now, we talked a bit earlier about you can put it in on your website, you can put it in your social media, and it'll go much further. You can put it up on your on the walls if you've got an office and a waiting room. You can put it out in a newsletter to all your clients. You can blog about it. There is so many things that you can do once you've been published. So please make the most of it. It's not, and these days I would even say with a lot of mainstream media, it's not even about their viewers, because a lot of them don't have a lot. It's much more about what you can do to leverage those articles and that publicity once you've been published, and spread the word that, you know, this media outlet thinks I'm so great that they have done an article for me or an article on me. So that's kind of it for this, and we will stop in a second. I just quickly want to do a special offer for you, which I have promised you. I am offering $200 off our online PR bootcamp. For that, you get access to the PR bootcamp online training, which is 6 video lessons that you can listen to. Each one is up to an hour, and it's a lot more detail about this kind of thing. We give you access to the PR Masterclass library, which has 35 15 to 20-minute videos that about different topics, like how to get a regular gig in the media, how to approach radio, how to approach TV, why PR, how PR works with social media, etc., etc. I'll send you my 40-page ebook, which I happen to think is bloody brilliant. I must do something with it at some stage. How to get a lifetime of free publicity for your business. And in there, I've put examples for personal PR, business PR, and product PR. You will get 3 months access to our PR engine with all the media contacts and the journalists in it. And we do online group mentoring as well. And normally it's $7.95, but you can have it for $5.95 if you want to. The code is LTable for learning table at the checkout, all caps. And if you wanted to just talk to me about PR coaching or anything around, you know, I'm about to do something about how to become a woman of influence as well. I'm very, very happy to do a free 15-minute chat. Just contact me via email or via LinkedIn if you want to be noticed, and I'll organize that with you. And that's all. Thank you. So,
Jules, that was amazing. I think everybody will agree that you do know your stuff. You just rattle off. I mean, I may be the queen of messaging, but Jules, you know your stuff. You know your topic.
Thank you
now,
very much.
There are a few people that had to jump off. There's a few. Oh, they're scrolling up now.
Okay.
But there's a few questions here. Okay, so there's a few people in the group that have already done some, have some experience with doing their own PR, and that seems to be Lisa and Carrie, and they seem to use a PR agency, and I thought maybe they could tell us if they got any benefit out of it, or
I have a feeling they're not here. Are they? 1, 2, 3, 4,
Lisa
5,
is.
7,
Lisa's
8.
still there.
Oh,
I didn't use an agency.
Oh, Lisa, I thought it was Lisa Hawkins.
Oh, okay.
No,
Oh,
Lisa.
okay,
Okay, tell us about doing your PR then.
I sort of worked in sort of PR and marketing for motorsport for a long time.
That's right.
And so I just sort of knew some people and just made some phone calls, really. And I was really, really lucky. And it goes to show you should never fuck anybody off, because this bloke, it was so funny. He ended up getting me like 4.5 minutes on the Today Show. And when I, wrote to him and thanked him afterwards, he wrote back to me and with an attachment to it. And I'd written him, he was a fan of our motorsport company for years, and he wanted some cloth badge or something or other. And I didn't have one at the event that time, but I sent him one and sent a little note with it, and he kept the letter and went back, oh, no problem, blah, blah. And now Trevor Long, he's one of those, he's the tech guru on the Today Show. And now, literally, I'm just going to call him again, and with all those things now that I just learned again, because I haven't been thinking about PR.
Absolutely. He would, I'm sure he can get you onto the Today Show. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, he did for 4 minutes. Now I need another revamp. That was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, tell him that you want to come on the show and demonstrate it for and that, when you're going to TV, one of the things they love is a way for the presenters to be able to interact with you. So why don't you suggest that you'll go on and let them have a go on it?
Yes.
Can you do that? Is there a way you could bring on a laptop or a computer, set it up, talk about it with the producer? But
imagine getting Carl Stefanovic failing on that.
Well, that's exactly what I think. I think Carl would love that kind of thing. I really
Humor is the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Nicole Stewart was talking about Source Bottle and no results. Yes, you mentioned this once before, Jules. Source Bottle as a form of finding some media.
So Source Bottle is a reactive way to get media. So the way I teach you is to be proactive, choose your topic, and then you can go out with it. The other option, not the other option, as well as if you sign up to Source Bottle, does everyone know what Source Bottle is? Okay, Source Bottle is SOURCE bottle.com. It is a place where journalists go when they're looking for people to interview, or they're looking for comments, or they're looking for articles. And it's free. You can sign up. I think it's free still. You sign up to it, and twice a day you will see call outs. I'm going to show you. I'll just show you. Hang on, let me just escape.
Oh, and if you're online there, Jules, can you grab the Handle Your Own PR Bootcamp URL and put it in the link?
Let me just do, I'll just show you Source Bottle, a call out, just so you can see. So this is what you get twice a day, 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And this is the one for today. So there you go. We're looking to speak with people who've entered some form of workplace relationship. We're looking for a guest to record an audio on happiness. We are looking for experts who can give localized insights on the property markets in each state. The Herald is working on a series on the rental market, insights about rental caps. You start to see themes through this. A sports psychologist for iView, for a story for a national audience, but they're looking for a Zoom interview today. Experts on concrete strategies people can take to save money on grocery bills. Unfortunately, they put concrete on that. Guest posts on your work environment, etc., etc. So that is the kind of thing that you will get if you sign up to Source Bottle. And this is what you're looking for, the Source Bottle. That's the logo that you're looking for. Now, I'm quickly, just while I'm here, going to show you.
I'm with Nicole on this one because I didn't get any joy out of it. And I actually couldn't send anything through.
I
actually had some
Let me
stuff
tell
on
you,
asking for, teenage road safety stuff, and I've replied 2 or 3 times and never got a thing.
I replied to stuff that was super relevant to me.
I'll tell you why.
Didn't get anything.
There's 2 things that you need to know. One is she's got 50,000 in the database that it goes out to. So if you don't answer straight away, you are competing against 50,000 people. The journalists are going to take the first couple of people who respond and that they can use. So if you see a call out at 7 a.m. and you don't send it out until 4 p.m. that night, I wouldn't bother sending it. The discount code was LTABLE, LTABLE.
I think you're much better going with your proactive rather than the reactive.
Well, I do. I have to say I do a bit of both. If the other thing that you want to do with a Source Bottle thing is don't do a whole lot of writing. If they say we're looking for somebody to talk about happiness, go to them and say, this is why I'm the best person you should talk to. So
that's a good idea.
Say you see an article, talk to me about fashion, Jane. You might go, I'm an ex-fashion designer. I actually work with styling with women. I specialize in women over 40. I have stacks of experience. I'm happy to comment, and here's my phone number. Give them your phone number so they can call you straight away and then get that comment from you fast.
Jules, there's many nuggets of brilliance today, but that alone is brilliant. Thank you, because I faffed on it, made it perfect, probably missed the window, and you're right. Like to go bang, bang, bang. So
and you know what Beck Darrington, who owns Source Bottle, said to do, and I think this is quite smart. Get your bio with your phone number and your email address and your experience, and just keep it on your desktop, because Source Bottle does allow you to attach a file. And if it's something that's good, you can just attach it. Then if you want to know more about me, here, and it'll take you 2 seconds, and you can just move on.
Because this is the thing, coming out twice a day, I feel like saying to them, do you think we're sitting here doing nothing? Because I don't know.
But a lot of people are actively going, okay, this month I'm going to do PR, and they will appreciate that. But it's also because the media moves so fast.
I understand.
The journalists in the morning won't know that they need a call out in the afternoon. The other thing is, just from your point of view, if you're ever running events or you've got products and you want to offer samples, there is that section in Source Bottle as well, where you can say, I've got these products.
Pick your lane.
For people who are saying, I've got an event and I'm looking for gifts that we could give women over 50. And, you know, you could say, well, let me give them a 15-minute gift voucher for a freestyling session, for instance.
I have two important questions that I really think we should cover.
We've only got another 10 minutes.
Okay. Carrie and Pollyanna, we're talking about, you made a point about give to the journos first. Do not post it anywhere on your blog, your LinkedIn, and all the rest. That seems to be a really important point. Do you wait a month, a week?
So firstly, you don't want, the reason is that Google only will rank something once. So if you put it on your blog post and then you send it to them, they go, well, it's already been ranked, so we're not going to get any love from Google for it. So that's kind of the rationale behind it.
Yeah.
And the answer is that you say to them, you can say to them, look, I'm giving you this opportunity. If you don't want it, can you let me know in the next 2 hours? Or how long do you need? Normally it's 24 hours. And because if you don't want it, I obviously want to be able to offer it to other media outlets. Now that's kind of the same thing that you do if you're offering them an exclusive. This is for you, and newspapers particularly really want exclusive these days because they are competing against media outlet. They're competing against digital media, which is so fast they can't keep up. So if they're going to write a story for you, they want to know that nobody else is going to publish that story before they do.
Which answers your question, Junie, where you were saying, are journalists that naive that they think we're not going to send it to somebody else? So a timed excerpt on the, yeah.
And what you need to realize as well is it depends what media outlet and it depends what the article is. So if you want a newspaper to do a good story on you, then you have to give them that as an exclusive, and it means absolutely that you don't send it to anyone else. You can change the angle and send it to other people, or you could go to radio or TV or industry media, but you can't go to other newspapers with it. It's got to be theirs. And be honest with the journalists, because if you mess them around and you do it, but you don't tell them and they find out, you will never, ever get a story from that journalist again. So build the trust, let them know. They understand that you need to get coverage. So you can say to them, look, this thing is this email that I've sent you, or this media release, this article, I want to get it up this week somewhere. If you're not going to take it, please let me know as soon as you can, because I need to be able to send it to other media outlets. The other option is sometimes you send a media release out to 50 people and one of them picks it up and says, hi, this sounds great. Can I have it as an exclusive? Then you have to say to them, look, you're the first one to pick it up, but I have sent it out to a whole lot of others. So, and I don't think, and obviously if they ask me, I won't let them, but if they don't ask me, because sometimes they don't, they'll just put it up. The other thing we could do is let's tweak it slightly, a little bit for you, so that it is exclusive to you.
Good idea.
So be honest with them, because they don't want to be stuffed around as well. Sorry.
And be reasonable with your timing.
Just on that exclusivity part, because you said, if it's a newspaper and you're telling them this is an exclusive, but with radio and TV, you can still put it out there.
Yeah, slightly different angle.
You gotta have it. Okay, so I can't.
But when you think about it, what Google is going to rank is words, and so in some ways, if you do, and I would always talk to them and go, look, I'm happy to give you the exclusive. How would you feel if I was to go to radio with it anyway?
Yeah.
And they may say, look, I would love it if you could just hold off for 24 hours and let me talk to my editor and see. Or they might say, oh God, we don't care about that at all.
Yeah.
Women's magazines are the same. Often they're competing against specific media. So for instance, the evening news each compete against each other. Otherwise, we all see the same thing in the evening news. Today, Tonight, and A Current Affair were a brilliant example of that. Every once in a while, you would see that they were both doing the same frigging topic.
Yeah.
And it's because people have gone to them, not told them. And honestly, it makes them furious. So in the end, I've had to do it so many times that you've got to decide and go, who am I going to give this to? And you're going to go to the other media outlet and you're going to go, I'm really sorry, but Channel 7 came first. And they're going to go, never darken my door again. That's it. I'm fed up with you. And then you go very, very hard with Channel 7 for the rest of your life, because you probably won't get into 9 for a couple of years. So you've got to play those games, or be very honest with them, or give them each their own angle. So for instance, if I'm talking about DIY PR, I might say, something about why it's the cheapest and most effective form of marketing for one, and for the other one I might talk about how PR should be part of your marketing mix and how it fits in with other types of marketing, for instance. So I'll give them a slightly different angle.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Last important topic is copyright. Now, Susan Jarvis, who's had to step out because she wasn't feeling well, was asking, can she make a montage out of interviews, media releases, etc., and just create her own media out of it, her own film clip or whatever, and not be in lieu of her copyright with them. And I think Lisa was saying, just somebody was saying, or Carrie was saying, check your contract. But how do we reuse all this wonderful material that we find the media are using on us?
So, well, again, you can ask, but I will tell you now that most media outlets are very happy for you to go out and share as long as they get the credit. So if she is making a montage, she would do something like, if I was her, it just depends how old it is. So the other thing is they don't really care 3 months down the track. What they care about is next week, that it's not going to be. So Ticker TV is a really good example because they make you pay for your clips. If you didn't buy the clips, which I have been known to do in the past, and record, so, you know, you just put it on your thing, you record it full screen, and then you hold on to it for a couple of months before you put it out, and then they haven't got a clue. They wouldn't remember, and they wouldn't see it. Look, everybody knows that the reason that we're doing publicity is to be able to tell everyone about it. So they don't mind, but they want to get the credit for it, and they'd love a backlink from your website to say, oh my God, here's my article on the Today Show, on the @Today Show, and that you give them that clip, and that you give them that credit. So it really is about the kind of the credit that you can give them, and double checking. Different media outlets feel differently about it. Sky TV always wanted to charge you, which is where Ticker TV got the idea from. And so if they found that you had recorded and were sharing it, they would be furious. And I mean, obviously they wouldn't know a month later, but straight away is, it's the timing as well. It's your relationship with them. It's who it is that you have managed to use. But I mean, I've just shown you a whole lot of clips from other people. That's totally allowed. And I think, you know, most of us want to say that we were on Sunrise or Channel 9 or the Today Show or Herald Sun, and to tag them in the post. So, and you can say thank you to the @Herald Sun for doing this story, you know, and that kind of thing.
Another one was Jane wanted to know the pros and cons of adding an attachment to, and so I'm guessing you're talking about not getting into the spam folder of the journal you're contacting. Is that right, Jane?
Also, like with the actual press release, whether you put the content in the body of the email, is that best practice, or actually like as a Word doc or whatever, but as an attachment?
So our system does both. In America, they will not, apparently, I've discovered, they will not take attachments. In Australia, they're very used to it. So our media, I could show you through the PR engine if you like, but basically the PR engine. So what I do and what I did, and the reason that we did it in the PR engine is I do it offline as well, is I always cut the body of the media release out and put it into the body of my email and then attach as well. And the reason that I do that is that if you share images in the body, often they turn into a big white square with a little red cross in the corner, and the journalist can't see it. So what I tend to do is just put the body copy into the body of the email, and then I'll attach it with all the images. I'm going to show, I think I'll do you a quick demo, Pollyanna. Where are you? There you are. Have we got any more questions? Otherwise, I might just do
definitely Nicole wants to have a PR day with journos. She's very interested. And Kirsten wants to know, can you use Otter for podcasts? Which is an interesting question.
You can use Otter for whatever you want. And yes, it's really good at getting a transcript for your podcast. Although most of the podcast platforms now will do a transcript for you anyway. So we're on Acast and Anchor, and they definitely will. You just press a button and say, do a transcript. But yes, otherwise what you do is you just have Otter on your phone, turn it on, and let the thing roll, and it'll give you the transcript that way.
Very handy.
And I'm very, very happy. Any of you are very welcome to book a one-on-one time with me if you want to have a little chat for me to answer more questions. I might just very quickly show you through the PR engine, just so you can see what the hell I'm talking about. And so you go to handleyourownpr.com.au and well, if you buy the PR engine, you'll get all the login details anyway, but I'll just show you how it works. I'm going to speak super fast because I can see the time. I'm off to meet with scale investors, and I'm just going to double check it's not 2 o'clock. As long as it's 2:30, I'll be fine. Yep. Okay. Got a bit of time. All right. Oh, come on. Sorry, let me just go. All right. Let's try again. Oh, thank God. All right. So this is the home page. On here is where you will see all your campaigns. So this is kind of how it works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start one to show you how the process starts, and then I'm going to show you one I've sent out so you can see how it ends, kind of thing. So the way that it works is you come on here and you start a new campaign. You call it whatever you like. So I'm going to call it Learning Table Test, if I could spell, just to show you. And this is the name that you call it is for you. No one else is going to see it. This is just so that you can find it again. Once you have named it, you will come to this page where you build your media contact list. Now, the way the page is set up is you're going to have 3 different levels, and it's going to create sort of a funnel to get you the names that you want. So let's just, for the hell of it, say that we're going to talk about women in business. Now, I've got business as a topic, and you can see a whole lot of other subtopics have come up. And then I'm going to put in lifestyle because I happen to know women's interest is down here in lifestyle as well. So, so I've ticked those 2. Then I need to go into a bit more detail. What kind of business? Well, I want women's interest and I want small business. I don't think I want anything else that's in there at the moment. So I'm just going to, and I'll click this business because unfortunately I am the one who created this database and I shouldn't be let loose on a database because I don't do it very well. And one day I'll redo this database by someone and it'll be great. Anyway, then you get to come here and you get to see all the different types of media that we've got and the number of contacts behind them. And I normally click on all of them, or sometimes I'll leave TV and radio out and I'll do that as a separate list. Just because when I send an email out, I want to send it out in bulk and I want to go, your readers will really like this. And obviously that's not right for radio or TV. You'd want to say your listeners or your viewers. And then in the third one, it gets into much more detail. So I'm going to go, as you tick them, you'll see I'm starting to build up contacts over here. So there's small business. I have a feeling I've got 2 small businesses. Oops. There's women's interest. Now, I also just happen to know that I have got stacks in Business National. So I'm just going to click on that so you can see that it's automatically added an extra 200 to the list. But let's just leave it at small business and women's interest for now. Then you save and continue.
This is amazing, Jules.
Thank you. Have you not seen this, Antonia?
Nope.
Oh my God. God, there's a lot of things I haven't gone through with you over time. So I actually sold my house to build this many years ago. Why is it? It's all going. I don't know whether it's because I'm on the screen as well, but this would normally happen in about 1 second. Just trying to, what can I do here? This seems to be getting stuck a bit.
Is there a demo mode that we could just...
A couple of the tabs, like Facebook's open, LinkedIn's open. Apparently they
Yes, look, yeah, there's millions, but I'd rather not do this than lose my place on some of those. All right, so now we've built our media contact list. All right, so now what we're going to do is it would normally take you to this page, and this is the widget for your media release. So you literally click here and upload your logo. I'm not going to do it because we don't want that. This is your image, which needs to be low res, but that will be the image that's going to illustrate your article. This is your media release heading. And this is where you put the body copy, and it just is a bit like words. So you can highlight words, you can put hyperlinks, you can put in tables, whatever you want. Once you put that in, it will pre-populate your details based on your profile that you have created at the beginning. You can add for extra photos in here. So you might do your hero shot of whatever, and then you might want to do like a standard shot of yourself, and you might want to do a shot of yourself with your customers. You can put more information into here, which is just notes to the journalist, really. So it might be links to research, or it might be a link to a Dropbox with more photos. And then you can send yourself a test email. Now, once you've done all of that, you do at the bottom where it says save and then go to the next stage. But I'm going to try on the top and see if it'll get us there a little bit faster. Come on. It's really just playing up and going a little bit slow today.
I think we get the idea there, Jules, because that's...
No, well, I actually want to show you this, because where we're different is you see the person, you see everything. I don't hide anything. So most databases, when you go into them, will say we have 56 fashion journalists, and you just send them. You have no idea who it's gone out to. With mine, I made sure that you know who they are. You can ring them if you want to. You could email them off the platform if you want to. But the idea is that you choose it. And then what you can do is you can select them, and you can either remove them in bulk. You want to go through and remove any that you don't like. You can remove them in bulk, or you can just remove them one at a time, but I would always just remove them in bulk. And you can see we've got 2 pages of them here. So now I just also want to very quickly show you one I prepared earlier, because there's a little bit more magic, as they say. Look how many people I've done tests for. Okay, this has actually gone out. Come on, don't let me down now. Right, okay, so this is a media release I've actually sent out. There's my logo. Here's my image, my headline, my body copy. Here is my contact details that they can get hold of me. I've added just a couple of silly photos just so that you can see you can add photos. This is my entry box where I have added links to research, or I might put my short bio in there. Now, then you can click on send me a test email. Now, I'm just going to send this. You've got to change the copy in here in order for it to work. So I'll send it. It is very loose idea of copy that you could send, so you do not have to use it. But this is the email that's going to go out with your media release. And then I want to show you how the system formats it. So it gets formatted so that it looks like a beautiful media release. As you can see, this is what the journalist gets. They've got a hyperlink to your website. They've got hyperlinks that they can email you back straight away or ring you. These photos, if they click on them, come up full screen, so they can see the quality and, you know, see them at closer range. And underneath there is any information that you're sending to a journalist. You always put underneath everything else so the journalist knows it's not part of the cut and paste. Now, once you're happy with that, you can go backwards and forwards. Now, let me just show you as well what it looks like when the journalist gets it. So,
when you send your campaign, does it monitor who, does it have a way to monitor who gets it, responds, or?
It goes out from your own email address, Antonia, and you will get the responses into your own inbox. But what I haven't got at the moment is this is how many journalists have opened it. But if the journalist responds, they respond to you. So this one has come out from Handle Your Own PR because it's a test one, but it would normally come from Jules at Handle Your Own PR or Antonia at AOK. This is the email copy that I just showed you, the widget. That's how it sits. And then to answer your question earlier, Jane, it takes the body copy out minus the image and puts it in with all the contact details, and then attaches the full media release if the journalist wants to look at it. Now,
Jules, that is amazing. You are so clever.
Thank you. I've actually just given it to somebody else. I'm giving someone else the whole business. And I'm going to do one-on-one coaching if anyone wants to be coached by me. But I am fed up and I love She's the Boss. So that's my new thing. After you've sent it out, I'll just show you another couple of little gizmos if it will do it sometime this week. It's so slow. Here we go. All right. Once you get to the sending page, you can see I've sent these out because they're grey here and it's got a date on it when they were sent out.
Good. Yeah.
You also can write notes about the journalist. So if the journalist comes up in another list or another campaign you're doing, you can read what you said about them. You know, said to call back, I only work on Tuesdays, or he wasn't interested, or whatever. You make your own notes.
That's handy.
And you can let us know, because we do it, or we automate this going out to journalists saying, are your details correct? But if you find that it's out of date, you can just quickly click on that button and let me know, and somebody will update it in our database. Now, once they've all been sent out, they all jump into this follow-up stage where you can make notes about them. And I'll just click on here so you can see. So you just go, bloody nice bloke. Whatever, these are just your notes. Nobody ever gets to see them. So you can add the note, and then you can change the color of the row so that when you're looking at it very quickly, you can see which ones are interested, not interested, which ones you need to respond to. And what I would suggest is that you then click on select all, and you take out the ones that have said that they don't want to be contacted again or have said no. And then you can click on this review and send follow-up, and it does exactly the same thing. It'll send out the media release attached and in the body copy. I just suggest that under the journalist name, you say just bumping this up to the top of your inbox in case you missed it. And it does say follow-up in the subject line, so they know it's a follow-up email. And that might...
Pollyanna was asking a good question. Do you update that regularly? Obviously, it's self-indicating.
So,
and if you hand it off to another person, will the L-Table coupon work in the future?
Right, the L-Table coupon is working because she has set it up for me. I will be part of Handle Your Own PR for the next year as we slowly transition me out. Jasmine Batra, if anyone knows her, is the woman who's taking it over, and she's absolutely a friggin' divine woman. And so it's all going to work. We're still going to offer the online accelerators. It'll still be my training. But I don't need to run it, which is the bit I want to get out of. The journalist gets sent an email every 3 months to say, well, these are the details we've got for you. Are they correct? As you can imagine, 20% of them open it. So we don't have a great number. But Jasmine, who has a lot more money than me, is paying someone who has gone through since January and rung every single journalist on that database to check that they are right. So it's currently totally up to date. And the idea is that they're going to start researching and adding more. But we also, when you join up, will see we have updates at Handle Your Own PR, and you can send us suggestions of media that you would like to see on there. And somebody will research it and find some names and get them up there for you.
I got to say, that was amazing, Jules. It's now 1:41, so we better scoot and get on with our businesses ourselves and probably sign up for the Handle Your Own PR.
Great. Handle Your Own PR. I also... Excuse me. Sorry about that. Grinding coffee in the kitchen. I also do one-on-one coaching if you want to talk about it, and I'm happy to do a free 15 minutes with anyone. And sorry about the grinding in the kitchen. I'll go and have
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank